Good morning and or afternoon. I think, is it morning?
Afternoon.
I think it's close enough. This is Dr. Jeremy Maxwell. And welcome to today. This is my daughter, Myya.
Hi.
And I've actually been very excited to have her come on our live shows for quite some time, actually. There's a lot of great wisdom that she's experienced over the last few years that I'm hoping that how things go today that will come out. But really, as you guys see in the description, father and daughter perspective is I really wanted to have this opportunity to kind of really be vulnerable with you guys about just stuff we get to talk about as a dad and a daughter, but also just to give you guys insight into our family and to see a lot of the things that can still be a struggle, can be a frustration, not just as a father looking out for his daughters, but just also as a doctor, and trying to figure some things out from time to time. And sometimes we don't always know, but I know Myya's got a great story. And, there's my cousin Charity. So Dr. James is on. So today, really, two things I wanted to accomplish. Number one, we are not going to discuss the C word. I think, actually, that could be taken in a lot of different ways, but Corona, we're not going to talk about that, okay? There's enough of that going on. You guys should already know where we stand on that. Don't avoid our office. Please come. Let's get your bodies back to normal to get them working the right way. Second of all, today really, I think, is about the young ladies. I want Myya to share some things that she shared with me as she comes back from college, because it's for the moms, the dads, and the daughters. I want to make you guys aware of just, again, thinking differently about how you're encouraging your young daughters how to take care of themselves and what that could potentially look like if you continue to follow the same medical pathway or advice that we hear every day. And I think Myya would agree. It's been a little mind-blowing and eye-opening, hasn't it? So,
Yeah.
So let's do this. I'll ask you a couple. Why don't you share with us a little bit about, let's go back to when you were, 14, 15 years old and kind of some things that you were starting to notice just about your body. And this is, probably about a year before I even got into really doing the Wellness Way stuff.
Yeah, quite a while. Okay, so I'll kind of share how the Wellness Way has helped my life in a lot of different aspects, specifically towards like the female body with like cycles and things like that. When I first got my first cycle, so that was like the whole exciting like womanhood thing. That was kind of a struggle for me in the beginning because like when I was having my cycle, it was like bad cramps, like in bed, like I thought I was dying.
Fetal position.
Yeah. So that was bad. But then I only had it a couple times, and then I just never got my period again until I was like, I don't know, I just remember being like, wow, this is really convenient. Like, I just never have it. And then I remember, like, telling my parents, like, oh, yeah, I haven't had my cycle since I was, like, 15? And it's been, like, 2 years. Like,
yeah, it was, like, 17. I think we were probably, I don't know, I would have been about a year or so into the Wellness Way. Maybe not quite that long, because when we started testing our family first right away, it was like, I remember thinking, okay, we have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is it that, one, I'm kind of your doctor, two, I'm your dad, and I'm just now finding out at 17 you've really only had a couple of menstruations. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this is not good. This is not normal. And so it's a good thing we're doing this. So I'll let you kind of take over.
Well, for me, I just thought, well, this is really convenient. Who wants to deal with this? But I knew that, like, I've always, like, wanted to raise a family and have kids, and that's really important to me. And I remember my mom telling me, like, okay, well, if you want to have kids, then, like, your body has to work right. Like, if you're not getting your period, like, there's something wrong. Anyway, so, like, whenever Dad got into the Wellness Way and things like that, and I did my food allergy testing, which was not fun in the beginning.
Yeah, because you had
I think I had 26 different food allergies. But I was really committed to staying off of that for a few months. And then, I still stay off things, but, like, I was, like, dead set on doing it. Yeah. But totally benefited me. Like, after, I would say, probably 2 months, like, I started getting my cycle again. And ever since then, I've been, like, regular. Whereas before, it was, like, transitioning, like I would get it 1 month, wouldn't get it for 3, then I'd kind of spot, like it was all over the place. And now I can say, like, I consistently get it when I'm supposed to, which is positive.
Yeah.
But on top of that too, I dealt with a lot of headaches and occasional like migraines a couple of times, like through high school, like headaches every single day. Like it just became part of my normal life, kind of.
And again, we didn't know that she was really having these every day, and then started to kind of notice some patterns. And you know, then obviously we took that testing a little bit further. We investigated, stool tests. We looked at her hormones, and there were definitely indicators of there was an interruption in normal. And so it was like, even for me, it was a massive eye opener. Like, not my kid, it's like, how in the world can one of my children or our children, have this much, stress and interruption in their physiology? Because even before the Wellness Way, we were fairly clean eaters. I would say we were probably 50-60% organic. Everything else, we had our share of processed stuff that was in the mix, but obviously moving into this, and then to be able to see you eat the foods that were good for you, and then stay away from the ones that were causing stress, and then to see physically the change you made, it was like, to me it was like, all right, this makes sense, we're on the right track. But what I want you to speak to again to the young women is, so obviously you didn't grow up playing soccer most of your life, but started to have a passion for that, just because that's, I coached it, I love doing it. But what were some things you started noticing about your health and your cycle as the more you began to train and prep for, going on a college soccer ship, a college soccer scholarship to go play, and what that first year looked like?
So, I mean, college, starting out as a freshman, there's many different stressors. So I think it was a mix of things, but one, like being away from home for the first time, totally different food and sleep environment, like everything was like out of whack. But on top of all of that, like personal stress and then physical stress, we were working out super intensely for soccer, which I had been working out all summer, so I was like prepped with that, but it was like, the next level. But I'd never had that continuously in my life, every single day, like all year round. And my body was honestly fatigued totally, and I saw like tons of changes, just emotional stress and physical stress combined. It's like my body reverted, and I stopped having my cycle again. Was never getting my period like I was supposed to.
And the headaches kind of kicked up again, and then there was suspicion of potential mold environments. Obviously, I mean, the crazy thing is she's living in the same dorm I did 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So I'm like, I probably just painted over the mold I was exposed to. So, and we just began to really question, like, should we pull her out of school? Do you need to come home? And there were some things, in her life that there were some priorities that had to change, and we don't have to go into those details, but obviously in making those changes, what did you then start to see come back again? What are some things maybe we're still working on?
Well, I'd say, like, I mean, in the social media world, and I don't know, kids my age, like a huge kick is mental health, and that's a huge thing. But like, I know for a lot of people around me, it's like, some people don't understand that, like, the things you put in your body and in your brain totally affect all of that. So I dealt with a lot of anxiety and things going into college, like never dealt with panic attacks before, and now I'm over here like not breathing, things like in that regard. I had to make a lot of different changes with sleep habits and the way I was eating, because a lot of those things definitely changed. So like priority wise, switching all of that definitely helps mentally, I would say, and emotionally.
And from my perspective, obviously as a dad, watching you struggle through that was extremely painful, even for your mom as well. But what was even more frustrating is you weren't taking any drugs. It's just like, I kind of joke, it's like You know, you take my wife Shelby, you take me, you take two, you know, vaccinated, you know, toxic, you know, people that by no means were perfect, you know, in their lifestyles and eating habits coming together to then create four kids that have never been vaccinated, that have never had a drug in their life, and then to see your child struggle with anxiety and to struggle with, you know, skin stuff and to have an abnormal cycle. It's like, what the heck? Like at this point, we're eating all organic, we're avoiding food allergies, and you know, and then it's like, you know, we just threw you into the poop pot at school. It's like you go from no major processed food to all this stuff at a cafeteria to, I mean, it was just
every day.
Yeah, and so
changes your body.
You know, so it was frustrating to see that, you know, we couldn't change that environment. And you could see, like, you followed what we said. She was taking the different things that we recommended, but because the environment was so stressful and the physical stress she was putting on her body, it wasn't allowing those changes, you know, to take place. But really what, before I go to the next part about just some of the questions you started asking me on behalf of your friends and people that you knew, is there anything else you want to add to just kind of what you've noticed up to this point with just your journey in the wellness way and what you're learning and just kind of potentially, you know, the path that you're on, you know, and what you're wanting to pursue?
I would say just like one of the biggest things I've learned with the wellness way, like health journey wise and through college, is, well, I guess patience is something I'm thinking about, like, because like the little decisions you make really do affect long term. Because all my little decisions of like instant gratification and all these, whether that be like eating or like whatever habits it was, like eventually it all caught up to me and I just became super sick, like all the time. I mean, there was specific different times where I was really sick, but then it was just like, I'm just sick always. So that really affected, all those little decisions definitely led to something bigger.
And how many times in that moment did you just say, screw it, I'm just going to eat whatever? Yeah. See, it's not just y'all. Like, we've been there too. I know Myya's personally experienced that, and it's tough. And this is someone's coming from a person who in the beginning was allergic to coconut, almonds,
like
chicken. I mean, every alternative milk was pretty much off the table. Every nut was about off the table, you know. So, you know, I'll kind of throw myself under the bus. If you guys ever think like, man, Dr. Maxwell's kind of a punk, he's a jerk, he doesn't even care about us, it's because I've been there. Like, you're not telling me anything more difficult than what we've already experienced in our family. I mean, before we really even rolled this out to you guys, we were figuring out how to cook for 3 kids and 2 adults in one kitchen. Where, guess what? Everybody had different food allergies. Some were the same, some weren't, you know. All while Aiden was on the outside laughing because he didn't live with us. He was in Europe and missed all the testing aspect. But
well, that's a huge thing. Like, health is, you don't just arrive. Like, it's totally a journey, like all the time.
Big time.
Gotta fight for it.
You do have to fight for it. And so, speaking of fighting, you know, I get on here, Dr. James gets on here, all the Wellness Way doctors, like, we get on and do these videos because we really are fighting on your behalf. We're fighting for your rights and things to keep. We're fighting for your health. Because I had a conversation with a lady this morning at our ACA networking business time, and she says, you know, what do you have if you don't have your health? And this was a 13-year post, you know, I think breast cancer survivor. You know, so she gets it. She understands that if you don't have your health, you have nothing. But what I'm realizing, and even having conversations with my own daughter, bringing realization to me on how to better, you know, educate, you know, our clients, is just asking questions and assuming, you know what, not everybody knows what we know. I don't know everything, but I also, you know, take for granted that not everybody takes the time or has the ability to read through all this stuff, you know. So we get on here to fight for you and make you aware of the things that we literally do every day, multiple times a day, that suppress the immune system, that interrupt our gut function, that potentially lead to headaches and spinal disruption and stress, all that stuff. And so we're going to be talking about the pill. And, you know, if you feel comfortable, I know there's some stories I'm thinking about, but, you know, I don't know how many of your friends will watch this. I don't necessarily want to feel like we throw them under the bus, or they'd be like, "What are you talking about, me?" So obviously, you know, when we became aware that you were having cycle issues and menstruation issues and cramping, because of what we know, and what I encourage you guys now is to think differently about, you know, how you would deal with this with your own daughter going forward is, hey, let's not go to the medical field and go, hey, my daughter's having cramps, blah, 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 and let's put her on the pill. And that's going to balance your hormones and make everything better. Because what they're not telling you is that the pill is an endocrine disruptor. It's well documented that it interferes with normal hormone production. It's well documented that it does interrupt gut hormone or gut health, which then ultimately influences our immune system. And so, you know, as you went off to college, and obviously that campus, I won't say, most people that watch probably know where you go to college, but I won't throw that school. It's very different than when your mother and I went to school there. So, you know, so to some degree, I'm surprised at the conversations you're having. On the other hand, I'm like, wow, I'm not surprised anymore. But what were some of the things you know, had questions about, and then what are some things that you want to make sure that we answer for some moms and dads and other young ladies going forward about this topic of your cycle, the pill, and all that?
Well, on that, like, the biggest thing was I was just so unaware of how many people my age or, like, younger than me who have been on the pill for so long, or whatever you call it. What's that thing in your arm?
The depot shot.
Yeah. But, like, girls who had it, and I was like, of course your mind goes to, like, you just think, oh, they're sexually active, what? Like, things like that, but it's like, not even. Like, people just take this stuff because their doctor tells them
They're so regulated.
Yeah, so, like, a lot of my friends take it just to regulate their cycle, but I also have friends who are like, well, like, one of my friends was like, I just got my period, but I'm not even supposed to. And I was like, well, you are supposed to. And she's like, yeah, but I take the pill, so I never get my period. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's so unhealthy. But, like, yeah, that was, so I always come home with questions like, what else could they do? Like, they take it because they have bad cramps, or they take it because their doctor says it's going to balance their hormones and it's helping them. But is it actually helping them? You know,
right.
like...
Yeah, it depends on what the definition of help is. You know, if you're just trying to eliminate symptomatology, that's different than I'm just trying to function normal. You know, and even before we got on today, I was kind of, you know, this is a very crude drawing, but I was kind of drawing a little bit of the female cycle for Myya, you know, and it's like, you know, well, I want to answer the questions to the young ladies that, you know, they're not crazy, that, you know, is it normal to experience some of these emotional highs and lows during the month, and what's considered true normal versus what's abnormal. And so, and prior to today, we've walked through this picture, so it's not like Myya's never seen me not walk through the cycle. But, you know, in that first week when women are menstruating, most of your hormones will be very low, so there's probably a more little emotional time of being during menstruation because everything is so low. But as, you know, you move into week 2, the menstruation goes away, your body begins to change hormonally to prepare an egg for ovulation. It was kind of funny today, as I was saying, oh, here comes Emmy. Maybe I can get 2 daughters on the same show. That would be interesting.
Hey,
just letting you know we're on live on Facebook.
She just goes,
I'm out. So as I was showing her how the hormones change and luteinizing hormone goes up and you're getting ready to ovulate, I said, isn't it amazing how God made the female to, in a sense, want to be attracted to the male at that time? Because that's like, hey, guess what? In order to create a baby, male and female got to come together. So physiologically, he's created an attraction that's there chemically that's happening to make that happen. And she even kind of was like, it was almost like you had a light bulb moment, like, wow, no wonder. It's like, I mean, you can't help that.
Yeah.
That is a normal.
So if you're working on your purity, stay in your dorm room for the week.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I let her. I don't think she knew before, but I was like, yeah, Dr. Flynn calls that time frame the man cave. And then during menstruation, that's what we call construction zone. So sure, after that happens, let's say, there is no sperm and egg come together, the egg now is going to degrade, hormones change again. So, whether it's, the emotional highs and lows, there is a normal fluctuation of your hormones, and there will be a normal variation of what you feel. You're gonna, your head's gonna be a little different week to week. Your body is gonna be different week to week. I mean, literally, breast size can change a little bit in that time, whether you feel comfortable being touched or uncomfortable. Those are all normal things, and that's like not just crazy to me how many females don't know that, but what's even worse is how many guys don't. To them it's just like, yeah, can you kind of hurry up and get over that period of time and be on your way? But as Dr. Flynn has found out, being the hormone whisperer over 20 years, this kind of stuff is what saves relationships, because you have to understand the female physiology so that you're not looking at them going, she's crazy, when actually she's normal. So imagine when that gets off.
Yeah.
And you can share in that. Like, how many times did you call and be like,
too many.
Something is not right with me.
Wrong.
Bawling her eyes out, and then it's like you get through, and then it's like there's a realization, oh, I'm getting ready to start my period. And then it's like dispels all that.
Yeah.
So, let me gather my thoughts here a second. See where else we want to go. Yeah, a lot of people been on and off today. So, from obviously the doctor perspective, if you guys have questions regarding the health of your daughters, what their menstruation's like, what their cycle's like, please reach out and ask us questions. We're here to help, because one, there's two ways to view health. We talk a lot about our carpenter and fireman approach. The wellness way looks at health care in those two ways. You can either, wait till your house, meaning your body, gets on fire, and you can call the fire department or the medical doctors and say, hey, I need my fire to be put out. There's a time and place for that. But in that, once the fire's put out, we need a carpenter. We need somebody with the right tools, the right information to rebuild. So wherever you fall into those categories, some people are going to hear this and go, holy smokes, like, I don't want my 8-year-old daughter to even get to that. What can we do now to begin to, if for another analogy is tend the garden. Like, what can I be doing to help my 9-year-old or pre-puberty female begin to take care of her body now, so that when it's time for her body to change and go through those hormonal things, that it's going to be equipped. So that looks like, hey, you know what? Get a food allergy test now. Start eliminating some foods, But Dr. Maxwell, I can't afford that test. That's okay. Guess what? I said I wasn't going to share this story, but so I think she's 70. Had a 70-year-old lady in yesterday. Love her. Spry. I mean, you would not know that she's 70. But it was so awesome. She says, hey, that foot, my heel was really hurting me. And she said, I changed some things in my diet. And I was like, really? I'm like, what did you change? She said, I stopped drinking light beer. I was like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I don't think of 70-year-old women just, drinking light beer. If they're going to drink anything, it's like wine or something. But anyway, she said, yeah, in a matter of just days, my heel pain started going away. And I said, that's funny. I said, wouldn't you agree then that food matters? She's like, it totally matters. I said, when we test our clients, I'm like, probably 60% of them have a wheat and a brewer's yeast allergy. So I said, so it's no surprise to me that by eliminating that, you've now changed a lot of inflammation in your body. And speaking of inflammation, I mean, you can't see it here, but I remember at Thanksgiving when we took that family photo of what I have saved on my phone of you, Emmy, and Z, and what I see now, huge difference in inflammation. I mean, it was just like you were puffy, and like I know you can
Stressed
tell
out.
like when stress changes. I know somebody,
Totally.
Annie put some on here. I know the bad hormone genes end with me. I will teach my daughters how to properly care for themselves. That's right, Miss Annie. Hey, Glenda. Let's see here. Heather, what's up, girl?
That's
My
fine.
dad. Hey, my dad even got on here. I don't know if he's still watching. There's Brandy. Brandy's one of my usuals. So.
Okay, so if we wrap up, what are some things, like, for me and my college friends, like, during our cycle and things like that, what are just a couple practical things to help with symptoms of feeling hormonal or crampy or just, like, having better health? What could be some day-to-day things?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm going to come at it from the angle of poor college kids can't afford anything, can't do some things to really get properly tested. I will tell you this, and every Wellness Way office chocolate.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Annie, while you're on there, why don't you tell everybody the proper chocolate to eat? And if they don't want the sugar, tell them the kind with stevia. So I'm going to come at it from the perspective of you're a young lady at college. You're in a situation where you can't, maybe take the necessary herbs that would be supporting your body the right way or get some testing done. So in January, the Wellness Way across the United States and overseas did No Sugar January. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many testimonies, excuse me, that I saw, getting corona.
No C word.
No C word, sorry. But how many of the ladies talked about how much their cycle changed for the better by getting off sugar? And you might be wondering, like, how in the world would that change that? Well, this may be a little bit more than you were wanting to know and wrap up, but I want ladies to know this. So when sugar happens, inflammation happens, and it changes you metabolically. And we talked about this before with PCOS. So inflammation will change for a female how their liver ends up converting and using testosterone. So it can convert it to a more potent form called DHT. Well, that dihydrotestosterone, obviously a more potent form, is not what's normal for a female. So that can show up in a different manifestations of a high sex drive. It can become very painful with ovulation. They can get a lot of cysts. But the interesting thing about that is one of the drugs that will be given to young ladies to counteract that is metformin. It's a diabetic drug or a blood sugar regulation. And so I just find it interesting that that drug they discovered would ease those symptoms, but we also know metformin is a massive disruptor of the gut. And so although it may change their symptoms of PCOS, most diabetics and others who take metformin know they don't stay out long because they just feel terrible and their gut gets really bad. So all of that to say, ladies, since we're focusing more on you today, get off the sugar. Okay, everybody regulates sugar differently. I mean, there are some people, and I think you're one of them. But what would happen every time? So this is, again, pre-Wellness Way.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Friday night, family night, and the kids would get candy. What happened every time you ate Sour Patch Kids?
Well, especially when I was younger, like, I'd get an ear infection.
Yeah. We would be woken up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Every time she ate Sour Patch Kids, it was ear infection.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the heck? It's like we're getting adjusted all the time.
Yeah.
And then we finally put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, you and sugar don't mix.
Yeah. And even still, like, I've noticed that as, like, the biggest factor in college because you're surrounded by way more sugar and carbs and all of that. But, like, it really affects, well, your immune system. I've noticed, like, getting way more sick. Like, it just suppresses that. And then also mental clarity, which you wouldn't think, but, like, it's a huge factor. Like, too much sugar, like, you can't think straight. You really can't. So yeah. Let's just get to the brass tacks of it now. So, ladies, get off the sugar. So really limit your fruit. Stick to the vegetables. Get good, healthy fats. This is even my own personal discovery of starting to like some things a little better is I've been going to natural grocers and buying mackerel just in the can. It's fresh caught. It's bathed in olive oil. It's good. I put a little sea salt on it. It's amazing. I get 20 grams of protein and good healthy fats. So get your olive oils, get your coconut oils.
and just stay off the carbs, especially the processed stuff. Got to get off the processed stuff, which is, again, going to be harder. But you know what? More and more as we do this, you know, those cafeterias are open and are very aware that people have issues this day and age. So don't be afraid to go ask and say, here's my list. You know, if you don't have a list, go talk to them. Say, hey, you know what? I got some things. Are there some other alternatives we can begin to put out there to make better choices? And so, again, from the college kid perspective, just get off the sugar, get off the carbs, really watch your fruit intake, stick to berries. And then from an exercise standpoint, ladies, you guys really need to protect yourself week 1 during menstruation and week 3. For you workout junkies, you girls that think you gotta have a 6-pack, you need to quit that. Workout week 2 and 4. All right. There's, you know, if you're interested, never heard this before, you know, leave a comment in the box about what's I don't know if I got an emoji, something that'll remind Annie. Annie, if you're still watching, how can we get them to find out more about the little chart that's got the female cycle thing on there? But if you've never heard that before, we can get you the information that shows how you should work out during the month. But you should not be working out like a guy. You can't hit the gym every day for the whole month. You're going to make yourself sick. Week 2 and week 4, those are the 2 weeks you crush it. Week 1 and 3 should really be your yoga, light resistance, keep the heart rate down type thing, which is tough as a female athlete. You know, that was one of my biggest concerns for you going and training soccer-wise is not every coach has that understanding. You know, they tend to just train young ladies like they do men, and that can make them pretty sick. So trying to think if there's anything else. That
Sleep.
answer? Yeah, and sleep.
Sleep is so important.
Yeah, you got to get to sleep, which is tough because, you know, I think of your mom when we were in college. I mean, it was like, hey, it's curfew. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
now it's
party
time to go have
now.
fun and
I'm the
stay
same
up
way.
and late night. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to get your sleep. Ladies, you really got to be getting in college minimum of 7 to 8, which is pretty tough.
9 is my new.
Nine is the new 7 or 8 for Myya, and I can see the difference when you sleep. Like, you know, mood's right, you know, presence is right. I mean, you can see so much difference in that. So,
and like the good thing is it's like it's not a killjoy. Like, oh, no sugar, you can't do this, you can't. Like, it all is all for your benefit. Like, it's small steps that help you stay true to yourself and just a lot happier and more present, which is really good.
Well, thank you for coming on. I was looking
you.
forward to it. Thanks for sharing your story. I hope that those who are watching, you know, if you guys do have questions, please reach out. Like this topic is very near and dear to my heart, and you know, just to hear, you know, some of the stories from Myya, it does break our heart because there's just a lot of people that just don't know, and so we're more than happy to be your library, if you will, of information. So if you don't ask, you don't receive. So whatever it's on this live, make a comment, reach out to us, you know, through our Facebook page and say, hey, how can I find out more about this testing and that kind of stuff? Please let us know. You can also reach us at any of our events each month. Hey, Dr. Alex, next Tuesday night, Dr. James is doing his Wellness Way approach to inflammation. I'll have a cholesterol talk the last Tuesday of the month. So there's always opportunity for you guys to learn about the Wellness Way, how we think, how we do life, how we do health. We just invite you to become a part of our culture. So with that, you guys have a great weekend. Go do some great things to build up your health and immune system, get some sleep, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Okay, see ya.